Well, here I am at Ballito campus, and as you can see, a glorious day and the tent behind me. And when I think back over this last year, wow, it's been a magnificent year. To think that we're only a few months away from our 25th anniversary. Now, whenever I look back, I'm reminded of a phrase used by Bill Hybels, and he says, only God. As we look back over this past year at Grace, we too can say like Bill, only God.
Here at Ballito, it could only be God. DJ, you remember the lunch we had? We had a number of properties we'd looked at, and we asked the question, of all the ones, which one would we pick?
I remember it well, Wayne. You know, we weren't sure how much the land would cost. We weren't sure if it was for sale. We knew we couldn't afford it. And here we are, only God.
Only God. Well, we purchased the property, and we're excited to get on it. Do you remember the vicious dogs and the more vicious owner, you know?
I remember coming here, just having a look over the fence, and the next thing he was out the house and threatening. I was hauling my cell phone out of my pocket just to get video evidence to use in court to talk about my black eye, perhaps.
Exactly, nearly came to blows, but we were really excited. And talk us through the time between getting the keys on the 2nd of September and the day in November when we opened with our first service.
It was a crazy 3 months, not even. It was deciding where the tent would go, chopping down some trees, trimming others, laying the slab, electrics in the ground, water supply, electricity supply. It was a huge challenge, lots of hard work.
I remember it was excitement and panic all at the same time, but here at Ballito, only God.
Our Riverside campus is now up to 3 services and still bursting at the seams.
We have been blown away by God's constant faithfulness to us here at Riverside. We initially started with 1 service and had to very quickly move to 2 and now 3 services. And we're even now building a mezzanine level to accommodate the growth. One story that kind of springs to mind that is close to my heart is a story of a couple that came on the Alpha Weekend Away just recently, and we've been helping them out just kind of find their feet. But on that weekend away, they really felt God speak to them very clearly, telling them that it's time for them to get married. And they didn't have the resources to put together a wedding or to do that, and so the very next week, that's what we did. We married them on the last night of the Alpha course. And it was so special. People came together. A lady cooked a beautiful wedding cake. Someone sourced a dress for the bride. We had balloons and decor. And right there with 150 Alpha guests, we married them. And it was just such a significant, such a powerful and a sacred moment. It's hard to describe. But as I reflect on that story, I was just reminded of this fact that only God can do a deep work in someone's heart like that. I mean, we didn't have an agenda. We weren't trying to get them to get married, but God was doing something in them. And if you ask them, they'll tell you that over the couple months they've been here at Grace, God has literally transformed their lives.
Water baptisms are events we normally plan throughout the year, but on Pentecost Sunday, something quite different happened. Pentecost Sunday was the day Peter said to the people, "The Jesus that you crucified is alive." And their response was, "What shall we do?" His answer was, "Repent and be baptized for the forgiveness of sins." I had a conviction that grew that I should ask people if they wanted to receive Christ and be baptized, clothes and all, they should come. I feared standing in the pool alone. People before the service said to me, "You should have provided clothes if you're going to ask." My friend said, "You're going to stand in the pool alone." My note said, "Possible spontaneous baptisms." Now, as the service began, I was not sure whether I would have the courage. I asked. I walked into the pool now with no mic to make any further appeals or to explain. I stood. Then, only God. Over the course of the day in Umhlanga and the other campuses, hundreds were baptized. Only God.
You know, it's been amazing to see what only God can do in a young adult generation. our young adult ministry forms a part of what we do here as a church. And so whether it's our young adult small groups or our young adult nights and a whole bunch of other different spaces, these are incredible spaces for young people to find a home, to find a place to grow. So if it's someone moving to a new city, finding a new support system, or a young adult wanting to grow in their faith, there is a space for them to do that here at Grace. But our young adults form an important part of the mission of our church, and so they serve in a whole bunch of different spaces. But one of my favorite stories is of a young adult who was serving on the prayer team. And one Sunday, a young lady walked forward and she was asking for prayer for her mom. And her mom was sick. Her mom was not well, but she wasn't actually here. And so the volunteer and the daughter prayed together. And the next week the daughter came back, but she brought her mom, who was healed. And she wasn't even there, and it's amazing to see how only God could do something like that. It's amazing.
Grace Kids is all about the greatest hour of the week. Karen leads a passionate team here at Grace.
Some moments in this year that made me realize it was only God was when our team were called to come alongside a class full of children who had tragically lost one of their classmates in an accident. On the flip side, we saw Aaron McElroy bring his art and talent to our Sunday teachings. In a complete chance conversation, I shared what I was preparing for Grace Kids and discovered that it had been on Aaron's heart to do short video lessons for the kids to teach them concepts like truth, faith, hope, and love. Within 24 hours, we had the first 2 videos ready to go. And the Grace Kids absolutely loved Captain Purplebeard and his mate Jeff. But their journey doesn't stop there. Once they outgrow Grace Kids, they head for Grace Youth.
At Grace Youth, we want to be a community of young people who are passionately following Jesus, and we want to live lives that compel others to do the same. We meet here on a Friday night where we have fun and we have community, and we meet 3 times on a Sunday where we have youth church. One of the stories that sticks out to me is a story of a volunteer who never thought that he had anything to give, and once he started getting involved with youth, it completely changed his life and his relationship with God. He feels like he is making an actual difference in young people's lives, and that's only God for me.
Around the 2016 municipal elections, we were intentional about seeking God's heart for the people of this country and created a faith, hope and love video that went viral on social media.
The Faith, Hope, Love video was an interesting project. We started off with big dreams of sending a message to our fellow South Africans and had a very clear picture of what this production would look like. Lou Harmon wrote such an inspirational script and we were so excited to match visuals to words. We envisioned a location in town, but things just didn't quite work out as planned. We knew a guy who was a volunteer at Grace Kids and also on our worship team, Abonga. We just knew he was the right guy for the job. It was a mad scramble to capture everyday South Africans just days before we were to air. We have amazing editors. Malusi and Raynon, who are absolute masters of what they do, worked around the clock. The piece ended up with over 70,000 views in the first 2 weeks. We even had networks wanting to broadcast the video. What was even more beautiful than the piece itself though was how it brought the whole team together. Only God can get that kind of thing right.
I love that it was our very own artwork that delivered the series concept. We have 2 really talented people in our graphics department. Carl and Mel are our graphic artists and are not only machines on digital media, but have hand-drawn much of the branding themselves. We also upped our game on social media. We've revamped our website and now have online sign-ups, and our Facebook and Instagram platforms are knocking the ball out the park.
We love to see people engage with us on social media. Karen Ludik heads this up and she's done such a great job. We launched our online campus for those who are out of town and for those who are asking to start campuses all over the place. Skip's trained online service hosts for graceonline.tv, and we have viewers from around the globe joining us every Sunday. I know of a family where a daughter from London joins us online and the mother's in the auditorium. It's just a great connection.
I love that I'm a part of taking grace and God's message to people's homes. This very week I had a lady from the Netherlands and a chap from Sierra Leone. As it turns out, the chap from Sierra Leone is an old friend of mine, so it was such a highlight to watch God bring him and I back in touch again after many years.
Video is an incredible medium to reach people, and we were the first church in South Africa to run the new Alpha film series at our Ballito campus.
When I think about how far Alpha has come and how many people around the globe have been transformed by just having faith and opening their hearts to God, I get shivers. Only God can move into spaces where we've never been before and touch people's lives. And Michelle's story is just one among many of the deep life transformations.
Growing up, obviously, like any kid, you see your parents and you want to be like them, you aspire to be like them. From the age of 18, I was doing drugs and I had a relationship with a boyfriend who was abusive towards me. At that time, I was speaking to a friend of mine who was doing stripping, and she told me that basically she was making a lot of money and it was lots of fun. I hadn't studied anything either, so I thought that that would give me some self-worth, with the money that I could make. I could actually put it towards studying and I could be something. After searching for so long, you think that there's no hope. Eventually, I just decided that it was enough. I deserved better. I knew that I couldn't be able to find myself unless I had God in my life. I decided to go to Alpha because I wanted to find myself, and I knew that I needed God in order to do that. Alpha is also a great place to go to where there's like-minded people, where maybe they're also lost and they don't know all the answers, and they come there with their questions and maybe they don't get the answers they're looking for, but it's a safe space where people don't judge you. We're all coming on this journey together to learn things together, and something that I may have gone through may help you on your journey. Alpha has made me a stronger person, has made me able to talk about the things that I've been through in my past and not to hide them. So I feel like through that I've been able to be healed. It's helped me to realize that there are people out there that really do care about you. Got questions about life? Try Alpha.
Paradigm Shift is a skills development program that our Missions and Justice team use in the alleviation of poverty in South Africa. In 2016, Kelly and her team have trained more people than any other church or organization in South Africa.
Only God could transform people from the inside out. Not only the entrepreneurs, but our volunteers and trainers too. I have seen God create friendships with people from complete opposite walks of life, and create unity amongst people who would never have had met if it wasn't for Paradigm Shift and Grace.
It's incredible to work with communities and individuals and see how God helps people learn and grow. No matter how negative their past is, there's a plan and a way forward.
There is no doubt we could do a feature-length movie on Missions and Justice. We've seen thousands of people impacted by the pop-up street store, the distribution of containers filled with food and medicine supplies, night and day missions and life skills training, sewing and crochet classes, and a whole lot more.
I was recently at our sewing course graduation ceremony, and I remember seeing something I had never seen before in my life. It was a pair of men's trousers with tucks, zip, waistband pockets, everything, but it had been beautifully sewn by hand. Who did this? I asked in astonishment. Well, the answer was Sibusiso, the only man on the course run by Grace Family Church's Missions and Justice team. Matt, one of our staff members, felt so inspired by Sibusiso's proactive attitude, just sewing anyway without a machine. He decided to act on a prompting from God. He spoke to a few staff members at Grace, offering them an opportunity to contribute to buying a sewing machine. So within 2 weeks, Sibusiso had a sewing machine of his own. And it makes me realize that good and wonderful things happen when we are responsive to God. And it also made me think, what a privilege to join with God as He works in people's lives.
Grace Counseling is headed up by Mads. She ran our first Christian counseling conference this year with delegates coming from all over the country. She's also integrated student counselors into her team whilst helping other churches and regions to set up their own counseling ministries.
When we lay the pieces of our lives before God, He puts it all together. That's everything about Grace Counseling. Our counselors have led support groups and courses covering things like addictions, boundaries, and grief. They give of their time weekly, meeting face to face with those who are hurting. The unity between the churches through counseling is so exciting. Over 100 churches have been trained, mentored, and envisioned through our first Christian Counseling Conference and the continued counseling training that Grace Counseling offers. It's so inspiring to see the body of Christ serving God and others through the ministry of counseling.
We could tell you so many stories of where God has been at work. In our men's groups and ladies' groups, groups that meet around social issues, and even sports groups. Only God knows every detail and every heart that has been surrendered to Him around the work done here at Grace. A huge thank you to all of those who make Grace what it is. Only God knows the sacrifice and the joys. We cannot wait to see what God can do in the days that lie ahead.